There are places on Earth where even nature wears a different face. Millions of years of isolation have allowed life to evolve along paths entirely its own. The familiar rules of the wild world do not fully apply here. The result is a world that is both strange and difficult to predict. And that is where the story of wild Australia begins. Eight small legs glide across damp earth after rain. The Sydney funnel web spider is drawing its first threads of silk, weaving a door of death right on the ground surface. In Australia, a continent isolated for tens of millions of years, even the smallest creature can carry the most fearsome weapon on the planet. In the funnel web, the male is usually smaller than the female, but its venom is more potent. Within its body is a trachotoxin, a neurotoxin of particular danger. A cricket accidentally touches a signal thread. From the bottom of the funnel, the spider launches upward, fangs driving deep and delivering venom in about 1/10 of a second. The prey quickly becomes paralyzed. That small meal restates a rule of this continent. Size does not determine the level of danger. When the dry season arrives, the damp soil gradually disappears. The male must leave the burrow and cross open ground, exposing itself to countless risks. It can bring down prey with a dose of venom smaller than a single droplet of dew. But in the rainforests of the north, another predator has chosen the complete opposite approach. Below the dry forest, a rock wallaby is leisurely grazing on young leaves beneath sparse canopy. Its wide field of vision makes it believe it is standing in a safe position. In the branches above, a scrub python quietly descends. A body as thick as a thigh wraps around the trunk, moving the heavy mass of muscle silently downward. This is the longest snake in Australia, capable of exceeding 5 meters. It needs no venom. Its coils alone are enough to squeeze the life from prey through sheer muscle. When the patterned head lowers to eye level, the wallaby finally recognizes the danger. But it is already too late. Every direction blocked by tree shadow and the descending snake. The strike unfolds right where the prey felt most safe. The muscular coils close in beneath the canopy, branches shaking violently, then going completely still. The struggle ends quickly. As the python begins to swallow its prey, the ground below trembles faintly with the footsteps of a creature weighing nearly 100 kilograms. The earth of Australia's interior cracks under blazing sun. A mob of red kangaroos grazes in the afternoon, young pressed close to the mother, a familiar sight in every image of Australia. But across this broad expanse, there is only one shallow pool left. Groups of kangaroos stand around the edge, and access to the water determines the order of the entire mob. Two males step forward from either side, broad shoulders, muscle taut beneath red fur, thick tails pressed to the ground like pillars supporting the entire body. They rear upright facing each other, both arms raised, then drive into each other, punches landing on faces, wring dry in the hot air, neither side giving ground. When the balance has not yet broken, one shifts its weight onto its tail and drives both hind feet hard into the opponent's belly. Sharp claws tear skin, red dust rising in dense clouds. The one struck staggers backward, struggling to right itself. But the opponent is already pressing in, continuing to drive force, pushing it into a position with no way out. The male falls a third time and cannot rise. It breathes in rapid bursts, then springs up and backs away from the pool, defeated. It turns and leads its females away to find another source. The whole group gradually disappears across the sunlit grassland. The young one hops unsteadily at the rear, all heading along a strip of grass stretching to the horizon, not knowing whether water lies ahead. The winner remains beside the pool, breathing hard. Its mob moves in, muzzles touching the shallow water. That small pool was held by strikes that the weaker could not have won for themselves. The young one tucks into the mother's pouch, eagerly drinking the life delivered through each mouthful of milk. On the dry grassland, every drop of water today is exchanged for one more day of living. The male red kangaroo, weighing nearly 90 kilograms, fights with both arms and legs. It licks its forearms to cool down, the body carrying no sweat glands the way many other mammals do. Behind the familiar gentle appearance, the red kangaroo is in fact a survival fighter, ready to drive into combat to claim water for the entire mob. But even the winner is losing water with every breath. The water source drains a little more each day, and when it disappears, this grassland holds no place for anyone. Kangaroos use strength to secure water, but deep in the arid interior, there are creatures that live in an entirely different way, quietly, needing to fight no one for anything. The red desert of Australia's interior, where life seems impossible, yet a thorny devil still picks its way slowly across the sand, its body covered in sharp spines. Those spines are not for fighting. Each one carries a tiny groove that channels water. When dew condenses, the water flows along the skin and directly into the mouth. Every early morning, a thin dew settles across the desert. Hundreds of microscopic water droplets simultaneously flow across the spine-covered skin, gathering into an amount sufficient to keep it alive in the arid zone. Its skin shifts colors with the temperature, darkening to absorb heat in the cold, lightening to reflect intense sunlight when the ground burns. Behind its neck is a perfect false head. When attacked, it lowers its real head and presents the decoy from the rear. The predator lunges into a harmless empty space. Spines for collecting water, skin for regulating heat, false head for deception. The desert did not produce a creature, it produced a complete survival mechanism. Deep in the eucalyptus forest, sunlight filters through long drifting leaves. A koala curls on a high branch, half dozing, waking only long enough to eat. That slowness is the strategy. Eucalyptus leaves are low in nutrition and laced with toxins, so the koala sleeps most of the day to save energy for its liver working constantly to detoxify. The koala wakes from a long sleep, eyes barely opening, It slowly reaches for the nearest eucalyptus leaf and puts it in its mouth, chewing slowly, a leaf that most mammals avoid entirely. But for the koala, this is a food source without competition. What is toxic to every other species nourishes it year-round, regardless of drought or heavy rain. After a few leaves, it closes its eyes again. A koala's day consists of almost only two states: eating and sleeping, with fewer than 1 hour of wakefulness. That very slowness creates an unusual advantage. Needing very little food, very little movement, very few enemies. The koala endures steadily right in the middle of a place where most other species struggle. Australia, an isolated land where every rule is overturned. The smallest carries the most fearsome venom. The gentlest fights the most fiercely. The thorny devil draws water from dew through its spines, while the koala turns toxic leaves into a meal exclusively its own. Each species has found a way out that exists nowhere else. None of this is an exception. It is the outcome of tens of millions of years of separation, where evolution quietly rewrote every definition of the strong and the surviving. And the koala still sleeps on the eucalyptus branch, opening its eyes only when the time comes to put one more leaf in its mouth. From the coastal rainforests to the endless red desert, life in Australia did not choose the easiest path. It chose the most extraordinary solutions in order to survive. And that is precisely what has made Australia one of the most unique evolutionary laboratories on the planet, where nature continues to astonish the world. Sand surface temperature has exceeded 60 degrees, air bent, turning everything distant into mirages flowing blurred on the horizon. Yellow scorpion seeks shade, nestling into rock crevice to avoid sun. Outside, under high-temperature rocks begin cracking from thermal expansion. Heat presses down on Sonoran like invisible weight. Owl hides in tree trunk avoiding sun. Under thornbush, jackrabbit presses flat to ground, dilating blood vessels in ears to radiate heat. But beneath scorching sand layer, ground surface shifts slightly. Horned lizard emerges, dusting sand with transparent eyelids before stepping into heat level all other species are avoiding. It possesses osteoderm armor layer, helping adapt to harsh heat. Red ants crawl across nose and head spikes, while its body not yet warm enough to react. Tongue flicks out extremely fast, rolling up each ant, then swallowing whole. On dessert, energy-conserving hunting strategy, more important than pursuit speed. Horned lizard walks, and at cholla bush edge, another movement appears. Small burrow entrance stirs. Two long whiskers poke out, sensing ground vibrations. Desert mouse stands motionless before burrow entrance, only ears continuously rotating, detecting sounds. After seconds of vigilance, it finally steps into dangerous open space. Long hind legs help it leap far and change direction instantly. It dashes between mesquite bushes, exposing itself on bare sand surface. It's searching for seeds, but never losing vigilance about surrounding environment. For desert rodents, danger typically comes from above. Above, two golden eagles glide on thermal currents, barely needing to flap wings. They've appeared since ground began absorbing heat. With vision 8 times human, plus talons creating grip force over 2,800 pounds per square inch. Golden eagle has locked tight on small brown dot between 2 bushes right when it left burrow. Eagle tilts wings, adjusting descent trajectory, calculating wind and prey's running direction. Wrong angle causes failure and wastes energy on desert. On ground, mouse detects round shadow advancing on sand, immediately flees, changing direction, lunging toward a rock maze instead of running straight to familiar burrow. Eagle talons stab into sand where mouse just stood. It watches prey. Mouse continues running, carrying first trace, opening hunting signal. Mouse rushes into maze of stacked granite rocks, making eagle unable to approach. Shade reduces heat significantly, but this terrain is also shelter for other predator species. Rock rattlesnake has necrotic venom. Thanks to heat pit, it detects mouse through very small temperature difference before seeing and begins rattling tail. Mouse freezes. Ahead is snake. Behind is eagle. But instead of panicking, it calculates escape chance when snake strikes and misses, needing about 3 seconds to coil back. Opportunity will open. Mouse creates vibration, stimulating snake to strike first. When strike lunges forward, it leaps sideways, then passes through narrow gap in very short time. Right then, eagle lunges into rock gap following mouse direction. Large movement brings it into defense reflex range of agitated snake. Snake launches second strike. Fangs only graze eagle's chest feathers, forcing predator to spring back out, yielding rock maze to true owner. Mouse escapes maze from west side. It breathes heavily, legs beginning to feel heavy. Ahead is bare sand plain, but behind is pursuing eagle. Two eagles coordinate above. One forces direction, the other waits ready at strike angle, creating pincer position, leading mouse right into attack trajectory. Cactus branch makes it slip slightly, but it still struggles to keep running, driven into talon range, diving down from about 30 meters height. Just as the talons were about to make contact, the mouse spotted the hollow skull. Its hind legs kicked off, and it changed direction, diving straight in and vanishing as the talons snapped shut over the top of the cranium. The skull creates a natural shelter. The narrow eye sockets prevent the eagle's beak from reaching deep inside, while the bone layer keeps the temperature significantly lower than the open sand. Eagle perches on skull, continuously pecking into open gaps, but mouse still lies deep inside skull cavity. Tug of war between desert's strongest and hollow skull begins. 5 minutes. Sun scorches sand surface, but skull remains cool thanks to heat reflection and light convection. Meanwhile, eagle must continuously shift feet to force mouse to run out. After 10 minutes, one perched on cactus begins losing patience, scanning for other targets, while the other pecks one last time, but still powerless before skull. Finally, eagles fly away in turn, abandoning energy-draining hunt, leaving skull in desert midst with mouse still alive inside. Mouse pokes whiskers from eye socket, checking vibrations and shadows on sand, then crawls out, dusts sand from fur, and runs to nearest burrow. Escape ends. By reflexes faster than eagle talons, body twist making snake miss strike, and a hollow skull lying right where no one expected. Eagles have ascended high again, and eyes still scanning. From afar, they detect new movement racing fast among cactus bushes. Zebra-tailed lizard, running at 30 kilometers per hour speed, black-white stripes bobbing. Being pursued by collared lizard, specialist eating smaller kindred, chasing behind. Collared lizard, with large head and powerful jaw force, completely focused on prey ahead, not at all recognizing predator shadow marked on sand. Zebra-tailed lizard dives underground. Pursuer behind stops in open area. It halts observing but doesn't see prey anywhere. Above, eagle has locked target early, waiting for exact moment lizard stops in open ground to dive from most advantageous attack angle. Collared lizard hears wind whistle behind, but reacts slowly. Body too hot, after chase making legs lose half speed. 2 meters become unreachable distance. Eagle talons clamp tight around lizard body and lift it from sand surface. Amid open space, with no rock gaps or shelter, all escape chances vanish. Eagle carries prey flying to nest on large cactus tree, while zebra-tailed lizard silently stays under sand, surviving by being faster than what once hunted it. Eagle perches on cactus tree feeding its young. Lost small mouse but gained larger prey instead. Enough one meal for its offspring. Desert food chain continues operating. Seeds feed mouse, insects feed lizard, lizard feeds eagle. Then decomposing carcass returns nutrients to soil and plants. Horned lizard lies pressed on warm rock after eating enough ants. Bone armor layer protects body, while blood squirting ability helps drive away many predator species. In cool burrow, mouse is moving, thanks to extremely efficient water concentrating kidney system, helping it live almost without needing to drink water amid arid desert. Rattlesnake still coiled. Slow metabolism helps it fast many days. Waiting for temperature to drop, then begins night hunting with heat pit. Dusk touches Sonoran. Sunlight gradually shifts to orange-red, while desert rocks begin radiating heat, absorbed throughout the long day. Desert changes shifts. Horned lizard prepares to bury itself in sand. Eagle stops hunting. Scorpion leaves rock crevice, and mouse pokes whiskers out burrow entrance again. Now is safest time. Rattlesnake crawls from maze, continuously flicking tongue and scanning heat. Where once was daytime shelter, now becomes nighttime hunting ground. Sonoran Desert spans over 300,000 square kilometers. With extreme temperature range, creatures here must adapt to daytime heat or nighttime cold to survive. Each species carries unique survival strategy, but all adaptations have limits. No one is perfect, only the most suitable. Dawn over Africa, first light touches the river surface. Thin mist rises from the still water, covering the sandy bank like an ethereal veil. Along the riverbank, footprints in wet sand tell last night's story. Some came to drink and left. Some species disappeared, never to return. In the distance, a baboon troop approaches the riverbank, then stops on high ground, observing the water below, displaying vigilance mechanisms selected through evolutionary process. This river is both life source and boundary between life and death. For small creatures like the baboon troop, each approach is a survival decision. Baboons are among Africa's most intelligent and fierce primates. Gray-brown fur, elongated face, and good eyesight help maintain high vigilance. Their jaws are fearsome weapons. Canines can reach 8 centimeters long, bite force from 500 to 700 pounds per square inch, enough to tear enemy flesh in an instant. They live in troops from several dozen to over 100 individuals, with clear hierarchical social structure helping maintain order and reduce conflict within the group. Baboons are omnivores, consuming from plants to small animals. Flexible diet helps them adapt effectively to harsh conditions of prolonged dry season. Their notable feature is a sophisticated warning system. Different sounds correspond to each threat, from birds of prey above to predators in bushes. But with dangers underwater, warning signals become limited when forced to cross rivers. Survival pressure forces the troop to choose despite existing risks. The troop leader advances, observing the river surface. In the next few seconds, its choice will directly affect the entire troop's safety. Behind, the entire troop waits silently in tension. Mother baboons clutch their young tightly, as delaying too long can also increase attack risk. The water surface is still, flat, and suspiciously calm. In African river ecosystems, silence often conceals lurking potential dangers. A dark shadow over 4 meters long lies motionless beneath murky water. Only eyes and nose protrude, camouflaged effectively like drifting rotten logs. Nile crocodiles are top ambush predators, with morphology virtually unchanged for millions of years. Their pupils are extremely sensitive to movement. Third eyelid supports underwater observation, helping detect prey precisely within hunting range. Nile crocodile bite force exceeds 3,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush prey bones. Once jaws have closed, almost no force can make them open. As ambush predators, they can lie motionless for extended periods to conserve energy and only attack when opportunity reaches optimal level. The tactic is very simple but extremely effective. Wait for prey to approach, attack in less than 1 second, and drag underwater to drown. Baboons are well aware of danger, while crocodiles are ready to ambush. The encounter between vigilance and silent strength begins right at this river bend. Finally, The troop leader decides to descend into water, each step cautious. The entire troop immediately follows, maintaining tight formation in this life or death choice. Adult males go first, water rising to their bellies. Behind, females hold young tightly, maintaining high vigilance against sudden attack risk. When the troop reaches midstream, water level rises to adult chests. Young cling tightly to mothers to avoid being swept away. Tension reaches peak. Suddenly, the water surface behind erupts. A crocodile charges with terrifying speed. The baboon troop panics, signals warnings. Formation immediately shatters. Individuals in front rush quickly toward opposite bank, while the rear group turns back. Dispersal breaks troop cohesion, making hunting risk increase. In nature, living in groups helps distribute risk. When separated, solitary individuals quickly become the clearest targets in dangerous environments. The crocodile locks target, not chasing the troop, but focusing on separated individual. This is common hunting tactic, prioritizing weak or slow-moving ones. Crocodile jaws close just centimeters from the baboon. Water splashes high. This individual escapes narrowly, rushing ashore at maximum speed thanks to survival reflexes. On both banks, baboons stand panting. The troop is divided by the deadly water. The first river crossing ends with luck, but not everyone made it to the other side. On the old bank, a mother baboon with young is trapped. She looks across to the other side, where most of the troop has safely gathered. Below the water surface, the crocodile has submerged, restoring initial calm. However, that silence is only concealing danger still lurking below. The mother baboon understands she cannot wait long. Lack of food and troop separation diminishes social standing. She must decide quickly to ensure survival chance. On the other side, the troop cannot wait, begins moving into areas with food. Distance gradually increases, forcing the mother baboon under pressure to act urgently. She descends into water. The young clings tightly to mother's back. Cold water gradually submerges the body. Each step is gambling with fate. Having advanced some distance, she steps slowly. The water surface ahead ripples lightly, then falls silent. Mother baboon is vigilant, eyes scanning along the current. From the right side, the crocodile suddenly lunges up without warning signs. At a speed impossible to react to, its jaws aim straight for the young on her back. Teeth sink deep into the young's leg. A piercing cry rings out. Mother baboon grabs her offspring, pulls back, creating a life and death tug-of-war in the water. On the bank, the baboon troop scatters. Warning cries ring out continuously, but no one dares enter the water, can only observe from safe distance. Mother baboon resists by instinct, continuously biting, clawing, and jerking. However, her bite force is significantly weaker than the crocodile's, making advantage tilt toward the predator. As the struggle drifts toward shore, the crocodile gradually loses advantage in shallow water. Seizing the rare opportunity, Mother baboon musters strength for one final jerk. The young escapes the crocodile's jaws, but in an instant, the crocodile switches targets and locks jaws onto mother baboon's leg. The young runs ashore, trembling with leg wound. Another baboon pulls it into the troop's center. It survives, but the price paid doesn't belong to it. Underwater, mother baboon still resists, but the pulling force increasingly tilts toward the predator. Bit by bit, she's drawn away from shallow water. On the bank, cries thin out, then cease completely. The baboon troop helplessly watches, unable to intervene. The outcome is decided and no second miracle occurs. On the water surface, the last ripples vanish. The water continues flowing, reflecting natural law that won't stop operating for losses. The baboon troop leaves the riverbank, quickly reestablishes formation, with the wounded young walking in the troop's center. Life continues despite carrying irreplaceable loss. The young is still too small. It doesn't fully understand what just happened, but survival instinct has deeply carved a life and death experience. In nature, victory sometimes is simply being alive. No heroes or villains, only existence continuing in life cycle. Below the river, the crocodile returns to familiar ambush position. It can fast for many weeks, but still patiently waits for prey. Persistence is its key survival weapon. Life by the water always exists in fragile balance, where action and waiting alternate, creating an endless cycle. In the distance, the baboon troop has found an area with food and gradually restores daily behaviors. But the formation is now missing one member. The young with leg wounds sits beside another female. It will grow up, will learn to survive, and someday will have to face this river once again. In the silence of the African plains, each species holds a role in nature's endless cycle. Life and death aren't opposites, but two parts of the same flow. End of dry season on African savanna, ground cracked long like old wounds. Grass withered crisp underfoot, while air thickens silence. Each species here has a role, and that role isn't fixed. Today's predator can become tomorrow's prey, if it makes one wrong choice. In this harsh environment, no action is meaningless. And sometimes, a successful hunt is precisely the starting point for an unavoidable failure. Africa doesn't favor the strongest, but chooses those who adapt more effectively. And today, the law will be demonstrated through a small species. Honey badger, small, fierce mammal famous for courage, recognized by Guinness as most fearless animal, ready to confront opponents many times larger. Honey badger skin thick and very tough, enough to reduce effectiveness of strong bites. Loose skin also helps it twist to counterattack right when restrained. Honey badger's front claws long, curved and extremely strong, suitable for digging burrows, breaking beehives or foraging underground, and when needed, it tears through anything blocking path. Mongooses significantly smaller than honey badger, but they rarely act alone. This species' true strength lies in ability to coordinate in packs. In a mongoose pack, usually at least one individual performs sentry duty. It observes from high position and signals when danger approaches. Despite having certain resistance to snake venom, their greatest advantage lies in behavior. Group coordination with astonishing speed and precision. This morning, entire pack moving toward nearest water source, a familiar route repeated daily and already silently tracked by honey badger. Honey badger doesn't lack food, but this opportunity rarely appears. When pack begins dispersing to forage, young individuals remain, creating dangerous gap. In nature, distance sometimes determines survival, not just between two bodies, but between an individual and pack's protection, and honey badger knows this. Balance in nature rarely collapses through chaos. It usually starts from very small deviation, then spreads faster than any reflex. Honey badger charges straight at target, no circling or probing. That's the hunting method of animal relying on endurance, boldness, and closing speed. Small mongoose pack reacts almost immediately, but still slower than decisive moment. Warning call rings out, but pack still outside support range. Honey badger bites and holds prey's neck or nape, an effective restraint method helping it quickly end attack before opponent can escape. Honey badger doesn't leave immediately, but begins eating on spot. A common choice for confident predators when not sensing clear threat. Not far away, mongoose pack has heard alarm signal. They stop almost simultaneously, then quickly turn toward direction emitting sound. This isn't random reaction, but social behavior reinforced through natural selection. When one individual signals, entire pack immediately coordinates. Honey badger quickly recognizes pack approaching, but it doesn't retreat. Instead, it turns to face, raises fur, and grips food tightly. Mongoose pack approaches at safe distance, not rushing in immediately. They observe, maintain formation, and assess opponent before choosing intervention moment. When honey badger turns back to prey position, two mongooses from behind have closed in. They attack tail and flanks, areas honey badger cannot defend. This is attrition attack type. No single individual strong enough to bring down honey badger alone, but entire pack can force it to continuously expend energy. Honey badger counterattacks fiercely and strong enough to bring down several individuals in short time. But mongoose pack doesn't retreat, nor let formation fall into chaos. This is when numerical advantage begins showing effectiveness. Each eliminated individual almost immediately replaced, while honey badger must bear all pressure alone. Honey badger turns back to prey and continues eating. This is biggest mistake it will make today. While head bowed down, three mongooses attack simultaneously from three directions. situation changes, not from single strike, but because honey badger, for first time, loses control of fighting space around its own body. Honey badger still hasn't left prey, partly from resource-keeping instinct, partly because it never had to abandon anything before. Today is first time. Mongoose pack doesn't rush in chaotically. They attack in short waves, then withdraw, maintaining pressure without depleting own energy. Through each collision, honey badger's reaction speed begins decreasing very slightly. What naked eye hardly notices is clear enough for entire pack to adjust closing distance. Honey badger begins moving to find more favorable opening, trying to regain initiative. But each gap just appearing is quickly filled by entire pack. Confrontation now no longer revolves around prey carcass. Entire mongoose pack has shifted target from protective reaction to applying pressure until honey badger exhausts. Mongoose pack not panicking, they continue following exact rhythm maintained from battle start. Patience is final and most effective weapon in this species' arsenal. Honey badger still bites several more individuals, but force and accuracy markedly decrease. Wounded ones retreat, while remainder continue applying pressure. This is battle about time, not strength. And in this battle, numbers always beat single individual, however exceptional that individual. Honey badger lowers body longer than normal beat. A declining sign mongoose pack immediately recognizes and exploits without delay. They don't need clear finishing blow. Just maintain pressure long enough, remainder decided by opponent's physiological limits. When honey badger falls again, it still manages to rise. But posture has lost stability, showing body beginning to decline movement controllability. Mongoose pack gives honey badger no rest. Each time it struggles up, entire pack immediately tightens pressure before opponent regains balance. Honey badger still bites back, still growls, and still won't retreat. But now, body can no longer keep up with its fighting will. This isn't simply failure of stubborn individual, but proof of survival law. Collective endurance can wear down even exceptional opponent. After ensuring threat has ended, mongoose pack quickly disperses and continues moving toward water source as original route. Honey badger lies motionless long while before beginning to move again. It's not dead, but clearly exhausted and completely lost situation control. Prey carcass still remains in place, but honey badger doesn't return, remaining energy not enough to exchange for what already cost it too much. Nature doesn't judge. No good or bad guys in this story. Only choices and consequences. Honey badger chose to attack pack and failed. But story doesn't stop there. One more severely wounded mongoose individual falling behind, and mourning order seems beginning to reverse. Honey badger recognizes opportunity, stops observing. Though body still hurts and exhausted, hunting instinct hasn't disappeared, only temporarily suppressed. And in those few seconds, honey badger looks at pack, then looks at wounded mongoose. First time today, it steps back without anyone attacking it. Honey badger turns away slowly, not fleeing but also not continuing pursuit. First time that morning, it actively refuses an opportunity. In nature, individual strength always has limits, while collective strength can far exceed individual capabilities when organized effectively. Tomorrow, honey badger will continue hunting while mongoose pack still goes toward water source. Nature continues, not remembering and not judging. But what remains after this morning isn't moment honey badger fell, but when entire pack turned back just from brief signal from wounded individual. Nature answers the question, what's stronger, individual or collective strength? It only presents real situations with unpredictable outcomes. Dawn over the Serengeti paints the plains golden to the horizon. Air seemingly quiet, but beneath, every creature has begun moving. Every creature here lives under one law, hunt or be hunted. But that boundary isn't fixed, always changing with each moment. This morning, in an acacia tree amid grassland, a small bird nest hides in high branches. Two chicks, days old, huddled together, waiting for mother. But when mother bird is absent, a gap immediately appears. Another creature silently climbs from tree base up in absolute silence. Black mamba, over 2.5 meters long, among Africa's fastest snakes. Extremely powerful venom, but now it doesn't need to use it. Chicks cannot run. It presses close to nest edge, head entering inside, preparing to attack. Panicked chick cries immediately ring out, tearing morning silence. That cry doesn't vanish into thin air. 50 meters away, a creature foraging immediately raises head. Mother secretary bird has heard her young. Secretary bird, over 1 meter tall, famous for snake hunting ability. Long stilt-like legs with hard talons create stomps with force 5 times body weight. It charges toward the acacia, long legs striding powerfully through grassland, wings beating hard, taking flight. It doesn't run but flies, reaching tree base in just seconds. It sees the snake right in the nest, head already in attack position. Mother bird doesn't hesitate, immediately lunging onto lower branches, closing in from above. Mamba withdraws head from nest, opens mouth threatening, revealing characteristic black mouth interior. But secretary bird doesn't back down. First stomp strikes down middle of snake body. Mamba writhes violently, coiling back, seeking chance to bite back. But mother bird withdraws leg faster. Mamba falls from branch, striking ground. Secretary bird lunges after, stomps several more times, confirming target motionless, then returns to check nest. In just minutes, the hunter became prey. Mamba fallen under Secretary Bird's feet, speed and venom don't always beat precision and experience. But the reversal chain on the plains hasn't stopped there. At Serengeti's edge, the river is where advantage can vanish after just one wrong step. A male lion advances to riverbank. Dark brown mane, rippling muscles, over 200 kilograms of pure strength, only coming to drink after a long night. It lowers head, muzzle touches a river surface, slowly drinking water. Eyes half closed, vigilance decreases, a rare state for the plains' apex. A few meters away, two pairs of eyes have already surfaced on water. Nile crocodile ambushed at bottom since early morning, waiting for prey to step into attack range. Water surface explodes. Crocodile lunges up, clamping tight on lion's muzzle, then pulling hard, underwater, where grassland king's advantage immediately vanishes. Lion roars, bites back at crocodile's mouth. Over 200 kilograms of muscle on land, resisting 500 kilograms pulling force underwater. Surrounding lions don't dare approach. Crocodile spins around. Death roll pulls lion's head underwater, when claws and large fangs nearly lose effect. But male lion isn't ordinary prey. It pulls crocodile to shallow water, front legs striking back at crocodile, beginning to find way to retreat onto shore. After over a minute of struggle, lion gets ashore, but crocodile still bites its tail. Lion jerks hard one last time, springs back onto shore. Only a bite clamping on empty air remains. Lion lies on shore, breathing heavily, muzzle torn. It stands turning back, walking away, understanding that every kingdom has borders. Underwater, crocodile silently sinks to bottom. Hunt failed, but that patient ambusher will still wait for next less fortunate prey. Male lion moves far from river. Brown mane long since dried, 200 kilograms still majestic. But blood scent spreading on a wind is signal opportunists won't miss. It stops amid grassland, lies down, licking wounds. Pain still present, but cleaning is mandatory because infection can kill slower than fangs and claws. Not far away, spotted hyena pack, humped shoulders, has scented lion blood spreading on wind. This is both rare prize and revenge opportunity. Spotted hyenas have top bite force among carnivores, enough to crush buffalo bones. One individual cannot face male lion, but entire pack is different. Hyena pack advances, forming encirclement. Laughing sounds ring out like coordination signals. Male lion raises head, recognizing it's surrounded. It stands roaring loudly, brown mane bristling, displaying authority. But pain remains, and hyena pack recognizes this is an injured individual. They advance further. A few lunge-biting hind legs, then retreat probing. Lion counterattacks, but bite misses due to pain. Hyena pack immediately recognizes that sluggishness. Others begin from behind, biting thighs and tail. Each time lion turns around, another direction gets attacked, making defense gradually collapse. male lion resists fiercely. One swipe hurls hyena far away, but remaining ones continue tightening circle, taking turns biting, making it gradually exhaust. After minutes, lion slows, hind leg buckles slightly. Hyena pack recognizes advantage. Laughing sounds intensify. Attack rhythm faster. Ending approaching. Then another roar tears through space, deeper and stronger. Entire hyena pack immediately freezes, turns looking toward grassland. From afar, another male lion appears, larger and stronger, dark black mane. It charges straight into formation, breaking encirclement, forcing hyena pack to immediately reassess situation. Black-maned male lion swipes nearest hyena, making it tumble. Next strike tears shoulder of one biting injured lion. Hyena pack immediately breaks formation. Entire pack turns, retreating, no longer maintaining coordination. Injured one runs slower. In an instant, battle completely reverses. Two male lions stand close together. Injured one breathing heavily, bites overlapping. The other vigilantly surveys surroundings. Alliance helps them overcome all dangers. On the plains, size creates advantage, but alliance is the factor determining long-term survival ability. In Africa, crocodiles are lords underwater. But across the Atlantic, in South America's Pantanal wetlands, relationship between big cats and reptiles operates differently. In shallow water area, caiman crocodile sunbathes. After meal, head and back protruding, in state of lost vigilance, it exposes weakness at skull apex. Above water's edge, on low overhanging branch, Jaguar is observing. This is big cat famous for hunting caiman, with skull-piercing bite from above. Weighing over 100 kilograms, Jaguar possesses bite force superior to body size, enough to pierce turtle shell and caiman skull. It doesn't need speed, only one precise strike. Jaguar doesn't jump from branch, but slides down to water's edge, walking underwater in absolute silence, closing on caiman in just meters. At 1 meter remaining, it compresses entire body, hind legs pressing deep into mud. Caiman still motionless, completely unaware of danger right above skull. Jaguar bursts from water surface, lunging onto prey's back and sinking jaws straight into skull apex, piercing through bone into brain. Caiman jerks once, then motionless. In just seconds, everything ends. Jaguar holds jaws tight to confirm prey, then drags heavy carcass, wading back through shallow water to high shore. In Africa, Nile crocodiles dominate water surface, where even lions must avoid. In South America, caiman faces cat that doesn't fear water, can be brought down by one precise strike. Dusk descends on two continents. In Serengeti, two male lions lie close together under tree canopy. In Pantanal, Jaguar vanishes into forest. Each carries its own story. In nature, every reversal begins with one small mistake: choosing wrong position, wrong timing, or wrong opponent. On the plains, there's no absolute ruler. Lions strong on land but weak underwater. Crocodiles dominate rivers but inferior on shore. Mamba fastest, still loses to Secretary Bird. Hyena's strong jaws, but lose to Lion Alliance. And that cycle never stops. Tomorrow morning, another individual will try its luck again. And just one small deviation is enough to create different outcome. Survivors continue moving. Secretary Bird protects nest. Lions rest under canopy. Jaguar hides on high branch. Hyenas return to pack with still fresh wounds. Dusk gradually fades over Serengeti. Cricket sounds replace bird calls. Wind carries scent of wet grass. River shifts from orange to purple, yielding to night. Survivors prepare for darkness. Secretary Bird guards young. Lions lie close together. Jaguar licks muzzle on high branch across the ocean. Wind gradually erases all traces. Ants clean bones. Water washes blood. Grass covers claw marks. When night falls, plains return to empty state. As last light leaves the Serengeti, plains whisper with thousand sounds of transition. In Africa or South America, the law unchanging. No absolute predator, only moments, positions, and mistakes enough to reverse everything. The dry season arrives. The Serengeti grassland falls silent in a different way. Not empty, but the kind of silence before something great begins. Hundreds of thousands of zebras are moving southward. This is the greatest migration on Earth, and not one of them is allowed to stop. Among the herd, calves just a few weeks old move along. Their striped coats still soft, their legs still unsteady. They do not yet know they are on their way to their first test. Ahead lies the Mara River, the natural boundary that every animal in the herd must cross. There is no other path. There is no second option. The zebra is Africa's largest seasonal migrant, traveling thousands of kilometers each year in search of new, nutrient-rich grasslands. A foal must stand within 30 minutes of being born, not a miracle. It is the bare minimum required to survive in this ecosystem. It stays close to its mother with every step, a behavior known as shadowing. For the foal, its mother is not just protection, but direction, the entirety of its world. But it has never crossed a river, never faced rushing water, never felt the pull of an invisible current. What lies ahead is a completely new experience. The zebra herd halts at the riverbank. Thousands of individuals stand still. A rare moment in nature when the fastest running species hesitates before a body of water. The Mara River is not wide, but width is not the danger here. The danger lies beneath the surface of the murky red-brown water surging past. Below the surface, Nile crocodiles have been waiting since before the zebra herd arrived. They do not rely on speed, they rely on patience. A fully grown adult can weigh between 500 and 750 kilograms. Its bite force reaches up to 5,000 pounds per square inch, enough to drag an adult zebra underwater in just a few seconds. In the murky water, the Nile crocodile is nearly invisible. This is not merely hiding, It is a perfect attack design refined over hundreds of millions of years of evolution. The Mara River's current this season reaches 3 to 5 meters per second, enough to sweep away any foal that loses its footing, even without a predator present. The riverbed is covered in slippery rocks. One misplaced step is all it takes. The current and the rocky bottom are the first threats the foal must face before the crocodiles. The lead animal steps into the water. Thousands follow, not out of courage, but because the pressure of the herd leaves no other choice. The foal hesitates at the water's edge. The cold water touches its front hooves, a completely new sensation. No memory exists to make it feel familiar. The mother zebra turns her head back, the clearest signal of all. Follow me. The foal steps in, not because it understands the danger, but because it cannot stay behind alone. The water rises to its belly. All 4 legs lose stability on the slippery rocks. The running reflex is triggered, but in water, speed no longer means anything. The foal begins to swim by reflex. Its muscles are not yet strong enough to fight the Mara River's current. Every second that passes, a portion of its energy is swept away. On this bank, hyenas are watching, and they are waiting. The smartest player in any hunt is not always the one who strikes first. The current pushes the foal 2 meters away from its mother. In ordinary circumstances, that distance means nothing. But here, 2 meters is the boundary between safety and danger. Beneath the surface, a crocodile, more than 4 meters long, begins to adjust its angle. No rush, no sound. It is calculating the approach angle and the right moment. The foal falls into a panic, the most dangerous mistake possible in water. Panic disrupts the swimming rhythm, drains energy, and pulls the body deeper beneath the surface. The mother senses it and turns back, breaking from the flow of the moving herd. Turning back means accepting a higher risk, going against the rules of survival. Underwater, a crocodile attacks the nearest adult, not the foal. It is a feint, creating chaos, to isolate the real target. A burst of water explodes. The zebra herd breaks formation, scattering in multiple directions. The foal loses its bearings. Its mother is no longer visible, only water and the sound of chaos. Instinct takes over. No more thinking, only reflex remains. And in those few brief seconds, everything is decided. The crocodile disappears back into the current after its strike. Not visible does not mean safe. In the Mara River, the most dangerous things are usually the ones that cannot be seen. Finally, the foal reaches a narrow strip of land in the middle of the river. It climbs up, gasping, all 4 legs trembling, but it is still standing. The mother has already reached the far bank. She calls out, the distinctive recognition call of the zebra. Amid the chaos, that is the only signal the foal needs. The second time it steps into the water, the foal no longer hesitates. Its mother's call has overridden the fear, an evolutionary mechanism that prioritizes connection over panic. The second half of the river holds no crocodiles. They have concentrated around the main herd, The foal does not know this. It swims in fear, and that very fear drives it to move faster. The far bank comes into view. It climbs up using every last bit of energy. No technique, no control, only the survival instinct. The mother stands still and waits. She does not move closer. In the language of zebras, standing still is an affirmation. I am here. You must come to me. The foal trembles, coat soaked through, breathing rapid. But it is standing beside its mother, on ground that just minutes before seemed completely out of reach. Not far away, another foal is not so fortunate. Separated from the herd early, it loses its bearings, swept downstream by the current. Its mother cannot find it again. Nature does not distinguish between right and wrong. Only different positions and different moments produce different outcomes. 1 meter in the wrong place is enough to change everything. The crocodile pulls its prey to the bottom, a behavior known as the death roll. No drama, no drawn-out struggle, only a mechanism, executed exactly as it was designed. The rest of the zebra herd continues up the bank. No stopping, no looking back. In herd survival, stopping means increasing the risk for all. The foal stands on this bank and looks back at the river. Its brain cannot process memories the way a human's does. But its body will remember, in the way that biology remembers. Instinct is not rewritten by thought, but by experience. Today's fear becomes tomorrow's reflex. That is how nature evolves every living creature. The foal will cross the Mara River many more times in its life. Each time, it steps in faster, more precisely. Survival is a skill learned through fear. In nature, there is no such thing as a safe childhood. To be born is to begin a series of trials. Instinct is not perfect. It must be sharpened through risk and fear. Across the Serengeti grassland, that cycle will continue, season after season, generation after generation. And the Mara River will remain, waiting for Antais, each new foal, to step into the first test of its life. The grassland of southern Africa, in the middle of the dry season, earth cracked open in great patches, grass burned flat, and the last water source vanished many weeks ago. But deep beneath the dry surface, a creature still exists. Its body nearly shut down, metabolism drastically reduced to hold on to its last reserves of moisture. Through months without eating or drinking, heart beating slowly, waiting for the familiar signal that will wake the body back to life. The sky to the west begins to darken, black clouds rolling low and carrying a damp wind. Then the first drops of rain fall onto the dry earth and seep into the cracks. The rain grows heavier, softening the parched soil, water pooling in small patches across the cracked surface, carrying moisture and new vitality to the arid land. Then the earth stirs. A crack widens, mud bursts upward, and from below, a large head with amber eyes slowly rises after months of concealment. The African bullfrog has a body as dense as a mass of muscle sunk in mud, jaws occupying nearly half its head, lined with small spike-like teeth. Once prey has entered, there is no escape. A body not built for running, it only needs to lie still and wait for prey to come to it. And after months of starvation, the hunting instinct rises back with full force. Small insects crawl across the wet mud. Another bullfrog lies watching the ground, its body blending almost completely into the mud color. A millipede passes close. The bullfrog's mouth snaps open, tongue fires out, jaws close. From the moment the prey touches down to the moment it disappears takes half a second. 10 minutes. Dozens of insects have vanished. The frog makes use of the brief rainy days to rapidly recover the energy burned away through the entire dry season. But insects are only the appetizer. For them, anything that fits in the mouth is food. And around the newly formed water pools, larger prey gradually appears. A field mouse steps out from the wet grass, searching for seeds along the water's edge, nose down low, completely unaware that death is waiting just ahead. It takes one more step, then the mud explodes. The frog's mouth snaps open, swallowing the mouse whole, locking every struggle down with the sharp teeth lining its mouth. The eyeballs press downward to help push the prey deeper into the throat. The mouse disappears, hind legs kicking weakly, then going still. The belly swells, but the mouth is already ready for the next one. 2 weeks after the rain, the savanna is drying again. Insects and small reptiles are more active, and the bullfrog has left the water pool, sitting motionless like a lump of dry mud on the red earth. A small snake slides past, just 20 centimeters away, tongue flickering, head raised to probe the environment. It is still too small to recognize the danger directly in front of it. The snake glides across the frog's field of view. A strike launches upward, misses. Red earth flies up as the prey attacks and tries to find a way out. The second lunge lands true. Jaws lock onto the head, spiked teeth drive deep. The snake's body coils and tightens around the frog, but is pressed flat against the ground. The frog begins to swallow. The grassland returns to quiet. The frog, lying still under the warm sun, belly rounded and full, beginning the slow process of digestion after a series of heavy meals under the sunlight slowly returning. The rainy season brings not only food, but the opportunity to breed, when all activity must happen quickly before the last drop of water disappears. At the largest water pool in the area, dozens of males gather, throats swelling as deep calls roll across the savanna, drawing females and staking out control of the breeding center. The strongest male holds the central position where the water is deepest, while others ram, press, and bite each other to win the only chance to continue their lineage. When the female arrives, mating is quick. Eggs are fertilized immediately and cling to moss and grass, beginning a life cycle that must outrace the receding water. Tadpoles hatch, thousands of tiny bodies swimming frantically in the warming pool, eating algae and each other to grow, because their life cycle is shorter than the pool sustaining them. Many weeks pass, the harsh sun returns, the pool shrinks day by day from a wide pond to a small puddle. Tadpoles pack together in a life source that is steadily running out. And in the middle of the shrinking pool, the father frog stays, He looks at the mud ridge dividing two pools of water, then quietly uses his hind legs to break through the mud, channeling his young through to the water on the other side. After hours of digging mud, under the blazing sun, his strength is spent, skin dry, eyes half closed. Yet he has held on to the chance of life for thousands of tadpoles. A smaller frog enters the territory being guarded. But for the bullfrog, a smaller member of its own species can sometimes also become food. The lunge happens quickly and decisively. As the dry season turns back, the instinct to protect and the instinct to hunt exist within the same body. Tadpoles begin to grow legs, some metamorphosing into frogs in fewer than 3 weeks, fingernail-sized, leaving the muddy pool to step into the high-risk world above the waterline. But the moment they reach the bank, the young frogs face hunting birds, snakes around the water's edge, and other adult frogs, because when hungry, this species does not distinguish its own kind. Most do not survive the first week. Of thousands of eggs, only a few will still be alive by the following rainy season. But those that remain will grow into monsters like their father. The pool has dried completely. The last tadpoles have left, and the father frog gazes silently at the empty patch of earth, sitting at the edge of dry mud, sensing the heat of the dry season slowly returning. Then the old instinct wakes. It begins to dig, hind legs driving hard, body sinking gradually into the hardening mud, preparing for the next long sleep. Mud slowly covers the back, the head, then both eyes, leaving behind a water-retaining membrane that gradually encases the body like a survival cocoon for the dry months ahead. The earth cracks open again, grass burns flat under the scorching sun, the water pools vanish entirely, and deep below the dry ground, the bullfrog lies still with a slowing heart, waiting for the next rain. A young frog that survived the rainy season sits near the drying bank. No larger than a coin, it has just caught its first ant. Life starts here. If it survives the first dry season, it will burrow into a mud cocoon like its parents, then emerge after the rains, larger, stronger, with a mouth that grows wider with every hunting season. The hot wind sweeps across the savanna. The cracked, dry earth is completely silent, but deep below, hundreds of bullfrogs lie still inside their own water-retaining membranes. And that is how the African bullfrog survives. The most voracious predator on the savanna is also the one that buries itself in a sleep lasting many months, just to exchange it for a handful of opportunities. Field mice still search for seeds. Grass snakes still hunt, completely unaware that the danger sleeping beneath their feet needs only one rain to open its mouth. The rainy season will return, perhaps soon, perhaps late. But without needing to know the timing, it only needs to feel the first vibration when water touches the earth. The first raindrop will fall, the earth will soften, pools will form, insects will surge, and from beneath the cracks, amber eyes will open again, beginning a new hunting season. But for now, the grassland is still dry and hot, and deep beneath the dark earth, it still lies there, waiting. The ground trembles faintly. Not rain yet, only wind moving through the grass. But sooner or later, the water will return, and it will be here when that happens. In the scorching semi-desert, a pit viper lies motionless on a rock. Two heat-sensing pits between its eyes and nostrils continuously scanning the environment around it. In its world, every warm-blooded creature appears as a moving point of light against the cool stone. Mice, lizards, and ground-foraging birds alike. A mouse steps out from a thorn bush about 30 centimeters away, completely silent. But the faint heat radiating from its body is already clearly visible in the predator's sensory system. The snake strikes with blinding speed, fangs driving precisely into the mouse's neck before the prey even has time to realize when it was first detected. The venom begins breaking down the prey's tissue from the inside. By the time the snake swallows, decomposition has already run ahead of the stomach. As swallowing begins, the snake's flexible jaw gradually widens to draw the entire mouse body inward in slow but precise alternating contractions. But heat sensing is not the only way snakes dominate the ground. Elsewhere, a giant hunts using nothing but muscle and patience sustained over hours. In the dry season, beside a river, most of the African rock python's body lies submerged in the mud at the water's edge, exposing only its eyes as it waits quietly for prey to draw near. A herd of impala slowly approaches the waterline. One female separates from the group and lowers her head to drink right at the edge of the mud, the exact spot where the python has been lying in ambush all morning. The mud surface explodes as the python launches upward, its backward curving teeth locking onto the prey's neck, while rings of muscle instantly coil around the ribcage, completely suppressing any movement. No crushing of bones, no tearing of flesh. It simply locks down each breath in turn until the impala goes still and the water's edge sinks back into silence. The python widens its jaws and alternately draws each section of the impala's body into its stomach over nearly an hour before lying motionless to digest over the following weeks. The python slides into the water, half submerged, eyes closed. Powerful stomach acid will dissolve bones, horn, and hooves. But this requires days of total stillness, and that is also the moment of greatest vulnerability. Across the savanna, not every snake needs to crush its prey to death. Some need only a single bite for neurotoxic venom to complete the rest of the hunt. The black mamba, nearly 3 meters long, with extreme speed on the ground and enough venom to kill animals many times its own size. This afternoon, a mamba is moving through low grass when a secretary bird spots it and blocks its path with thick-scaled legs built for hunting snakes. The mamba immediately raises its head and opens its characteristically black mouth, while the secretary bird slowly circles just outside striking range, forcing its opponent to constantly pivot to track it. The mamba suddenly strikes forward, but the bird sidesteps and delivers a thundering kick to the fully extended body. The mamba strikes again, this time low and close to the ground, targeting the unscaled thigh of the secretary bird. Its fangs find their mark, causing the bird to recoil, its steps beginning to falter. The secretary bird gradually withdraws from the confrontation and turns to leave, the first time it has chosen to retreat. The mamba lowers its head and glides away in the opposite direction, letting the venom complete the rest. But not every confrontation with a mamba ends cleanly. This morning, a brown eagle nearly paid with its life after letting a black mamba coil tight around its wing. The mamba could not find an angle to bite through the thick neck feathers. It loosens its coils to reposition, and the eagle immediately seizes the opening, wings beating erratically as it breaks free from the ground. Those are three capabilities that snakes have evolved to dominate the ground. But evolution did not stop there. In the tropical rainforest of Southeast Asia, one species has left the ground behind entirely. Tropical rainforest blanketed in dense leaf canopy and heat rising from the warm earth below. On a branch 30 meters up, a slender green body lies motionless in the light filtering through the canopy. The flying snake has no wings and no gliding membrane, but when it launches from a branch, its body flattens, beflattens, and spreads wide, then glides through the open air like a living ribbon through the ancient forest. 10 meters, then 15 meters, it glides between canopy layers without touching the ground, faster than climbing and safer than descending into a world full of predators below. Landing on a branch, the flying snake coils itself, flicks its tongue to pick up scent, then follows a lizard through the canopy, a race between wingless creatures. But whether hunting by gliding, constricting, or striking, every snake faces the same challenge: swallowing prey whole and intact without hands to tear it apart or teeth to chew. Beyond hunting, snakes possess another trait rarely found elsewhere in the animal kingdom: shedding their entire old skin in a single piece from head to tail. Rubbing its head against rough rock and then pushing forward, the old skin gradually inverts and peels back, revealing a fresh layer of bright new scales beneath. Shedding is not only about allowing the body to continue growing, it also eliminates parasites, bacteria, and accumulated damage, like a rebirth from within the old skin. In the days before shedding, they are nearly blind as the old skin covers their eyes, making the body sluggish and more vulnerable to attack than at any other time. For this reason, they typically hide in rock crevices, dark burrows, or hollow tree bases for many days at a stretch, until the old skin has fully slipped away and their eyes are ready for the next hunt. Heat sensing, constriction, venom injection, aerial gliding, swallowing prey whole, or shedding an entire skin. Any one of these abilities alone is enough for a snake to dominate its own environment. In the semi-desert, the pit viper still lies on the warm rock, waiting for the next heat signature. Farther on, the rock python with a belly stretched tight and heavy after its hunt. Elsewhere on the savanna, the black mamba has vanished into the low grass, while the flying snake continues to coil among the canopy of the tropical rainforest. On the dry rock, the shed skin lies behind like a final trace of one act of rebirth, before ants drag it away and it disappears entirely from nature. Over 3,000 species of snakes exist across nearly every continent. No legs, no wings, no external ears, yet older than most mammal species alive today. What they share is a body that never stops growing. After each shed, bones lengthen, muscles thicken, and the new version is always larger than before. The pit viper that hunts mice today will one day hunt rabbits. The mamba will eventually bring down an eagle in the next confrontation. Every living snake is a draft of a larger version to come. And somewhere on this planet, an egg has just cracked open, a forked tongue tasting the air for the first time before learning how to hunt and survive. Within a few weeks, it will strike for the first time, constrict for the first time, swallow for the first time. And if it survives the first year, the first shed skin will be smaller than a human hand. The final one may stretch longer than 5 meters. They leave behind no roar and no territory to assert their existence. Only shed skins as evidence that the body continues to grow after each act of survival. When the last ray of sunlight leaves the ground, the wind carries a thin, light snakeskin drifting across the grassland. It will tear and vanish, but the creature that shedded it has already grown larger and is moving on toward the next hunt. Under the early morning sun, the grassland ripples in waves. Among a cluster of flowers by a stream, a bee lands to drink nectar without noticing that the flower beside it has just turned its head. A flattened, glittering body with forelegs, spread like open petals, gives the orchid mantis perfect camouflage, its gaze continuously tracking the bee's every movement. When the bee lands on the flower right beside it, less than 2 centimeters away, the forelegs folded tight to the chest part slightly, the compound eyes rotate 180 degrees and lock precisely onto the prey's position. The moment the bee bows its head to drink nectar, those forelegs snap out in an instant, the sharp spines closing around the body. The bee's wings beat frantically a few times, then go still. The mantis brings the prey to its mouth, small jaws grinding through the chitin shell until only the thin wings remain, slowly falling down through the grass. A clean end to the first hunt of the day. After eating, it cleans its forelegs with its mouth, then sways gently with the leaf rhythm, blending back into the vegetation. Compound eyes still catching the rhythm of every movement on the surrounding branches. A few meters away, a small lizard crawls along a tree trunk without noticing that above it, the predator has already begun tracking its every step. In the midday sun, a green leaf mantis, roughly half the lizard size, sways its body like a real leaf, quietly sending movement signals to draw prey closer. The distance narrows to just 3 centimeters. The lizard finally notices the strange movement ahead. It freezes, studies the opponent carefully, then slowly lowers its head. The tongue is about to fire, but before the lizard can act, the mantis has already struck first. The folding forelegs snap down over the head before the tongue can retract. The lizard thrashes violently, but the grip locked around its head prevents any effective counterattack. Repeated bites begin targeting the soft tissue around the edges of the mouth. Channeling every remaining ounce of strength, the lizard wrenches hard and flings the mantis off the branch, breaking one of its hind legs. But the opening lasts only a moment. The mantis lunges again. The second lock is more decisive. Having fully subdued the prey, the mantis begins using its jaws to chew through the body, piece by piece, methodically consuming the opponent. The previous hunts all had a stable foothold, but this time, the mantis must hold its prey in midair, where a hummingbird hovers with wing beats at 70 times per second. In a tropical garden covered in red and violet blooms, a tiny body hovers before a nectar feeder, wings blurring into a haze in the sunlight. On the leaf, the green shadow has remained motionless for many hours. It lost one leg in this morning's hunt, but the front legs are still intact and folded tight against its chest, waiting. The hummingbird moves closer, its hum vibrating softly in the air. It dips its beak into the flower's center, into the nectar, just under 1 centimeter from the already parting forelegs. The moment it tastes the sweetness, the forelegs snap closed around the bird's neck, spines driving through thin feathers, sending the animal into a panic that pulls both off their position and into a spin through open air. Both fall into the shrubs below, where the final struggle ends. The mantis pins the prey down, pulling away small pieces through the thin feather layer. 2 hours later, only a few traces remain on the leaves. The wind will carry the last fragments away. The mantis will clean its forelegs, and it will turn toward the next prey. The previous prey were all smaller or comparable in size. But this time, the opponent is far longer, has sharp fangs, and attacks first, pushing the mantis into a reactive position. In low tropical shrubs under harsh sunlight, a green vine snake glides across a branch, tongue flickering for scent, but the smell of leaves masks the ambushed predator above. The snake stops beneath the branch, raises its head to probe the area, then detects movement. It lunges upward and bites one of the mantis's legs, opening a counterattack. The mantis bites back at the snake, but the snake's skin is too tough, so the mantis drops its prey onto a dry branch and escapes, leaving the mantis standing motionless on the tree. But the greatest danger does not come from prey. It comes from its own kind. The breeding season forces the male to approach a female much larger than itself, carrying those lethal hunting forelegs. The female mantis stands on a high branch, abdomen swelling with eggs. Below, a male half her size advances slowly from behind to stay out of her dangerous reach. Each step forward is broken by pauses to observe which direction the female's head is turned. The moment her head turns back, the male immediately freezes, is blending into the branch. 10 minutes pass. The male is now pressed close behind. He waits for the female to lower her head to feed, then immediately climbs onto her back, mating beginning amid the risk of being torn apart. A few minutes later, the female's head suddenly swings back. The hunting forelegs snap shut in an instant, closing down over the head of the mate trying to escape. The male wrenches hard trying to break free, but the size disadvantage leaves him unable to move. The female begins consuming the head, while the lower body continues its reflex mating motions by instinct. Half an hour later, the remaining body parts will become the final protein source nourishing the growing eggs, turning the mate into a meal before laying begins. Among the branches, the female folds her forelegs close to her chest, abdomen swelling steadily with developing eggs. In the days ahead, she will find a suitable dry branch, wrap the next generation into an egg case, and leave. The ootheca slowly hardens under the sun, becoming a shield against weather and danger. But the body that formed it will not live long enough to see the day the eggs hatch. Many weeks later, her movements slow. A column of ants approaches the mother mantis. A body that survived countless hunts, finally brought still beneath an army. Above on the branch, the egg case still clings in place. Inside, hundreds of eggs are growing, protected by the last shield the mother left behind. A few weeks later, the foam casing splits open. Hundreds of mantis nymphs clamber over each other and emerge at once, hunting forelegs already folded and the first hunger already rising. And the first meal is not aphids, it is their own siblings. The faster ones immediately lock onto the necks of those beside them, opening a wave of cannibalism from the very first minute. Of the hundreds that emerge at once, numbers drop sharply within the first hour. The survivors scatter in every direction, leaving behind the first battlefield of their lives. But the grassland is also full of danger. Birds, lizards, and spiders continuously hunt every small movement, keeping the survival chain in constant reversal and swallowing the weak. Fewer than 1 in 10 survive the first week, but each survivor has already passed its first molt, body harder, longer, with forelegs beginning to resemble the mother's. On the old branch, the egg case is now empty, the shell slowly weathering in sun and wind. Below the tree, ants have cleaned away every trace, as though nothing ever existed. On the branch beside it, a nymph that has molted twice stands motionless, forelegs folded close to its chest, body swaying with the wind, compound eyes sweeping the leaf surface below. Compound eyes reflecting the late-day sun, forelegs folded against the chest, motionless, silent, waiting, as every generation before it has done. A North American marsh wrapped in thin early morning mist, reeds swaying softly in the breeze. Amid the shallow water, a tall figure appears, its blue-gray plumage blending into the marsh backdrop. In the middle of the wetland, the great blue heron emerges like a living spear, over 1.2 meters tall with a wingspan of nearly 2 meters, standing in silence, waiting for prey to step into range. As the early sun warms the water, a school of small fish swims past a submerged grass clump. The heron still motionless, only its amber eyes slowly tracking every movement below the surface. One fish separates from the school, closer still. The curved neck slowly lowers, each vertebra locking into position like a spring being quietly compressed. Then the neck releases in an instant. The head drives into the water like a lance. The surface explodes, and when the head rises again, a fish is pinned sideways in the long beak. It rotates the fish to the right angle and swallows it whole, a small bulge traveling down the throat. The body returns to its familiar posture, waiting for the next movement. But fish are only the simplest item on the great blue heron's menu. This elegant bird can swallow nearly anything that fits within its beak, which is over 20 centimeters long. At midday, a water snake slides along the grassy bank at the marsh's edge, seeking shade, unaware that it is moving toward a predator that even its own parents would avoid. The heron spots the snake, but does not lunge. It only paces slowly across the mud, quietly circling to cut off the prey's route back to the water. The snake raises its head and recognizes the danger, immediately turns to flee. But the S-curved neck has already lowered, ready to fire before the next movement. The beak drives down, the snake immediately coils tight around it. The great blue heron shakes sideways, then slams the prey hard against the surface, the mud. By the final slam, the snake's body begins to go limp, the coil loosening. The hunter shakes hard until the snake falls free of the beak, then grips it again and begins the process of swallowing. Several minutes of struggle disappear as quickly as they began. It stands motionless in the shallows once more, neck curved, feathers smooth, amber eyes already tracking the next movement. To the south of the marsh, where the water is deeper and the mud softer, a young American alligator, less than 30 centimeters long, glides slowly along the water's edge, learning to stalk and hunt. Only a few months old, it is still far too small to be at the top of the food chain, while it remains a target itself for larger creatures watching from around the marsh. The young alligator moves to the shallows, stops to observe, its underdeveloped hunting instinct leading it to mistake the gray shape ahead for nothing more than a dry log. It swims 1 more meter, then half a meter. The neck lowers, so slowly the water makes no ripple, locking onto the small creature busy paddling through the mud. In the blink of an eye, the beak clamps onto the baby alligator's body before it can react, then slams it repeatedly against the water. The prey struggles weakly and gradually goes still. The young alligator goes motionless. The creature that would have become the lord of the marsh has just disappeared into the mouth of a bird. It would have frightened away once fully grown. As afternoon comes and the water warms, creatures grow more active. And to the north of the marsh, a mother mallard and her ducklings swim slowly through the still water in single file. One duckling is pulled sideways by the current, falling behind, small feet kicking frantically, opening a dangerous gap between it and the protection of the group. The gray shape changes direction, unhurried, each step aimed directly toward the straggling duckling, while the mother continues swimming ahead, completely unaware the group is now one short. The prey swims across its path. One single movement, the beak snaps shut instantly, the yellow down disappears into splashing water, and the mother turns in alarm. The heron raises its head and swallows the duckling whole, leaving a flat water surface behind. The mother circles, searching uselessly, then continues moving as though nothing was lost. The heron stands motionless, the small ripples slowly fading. In a single day, several different prey have passed one after another through this hunting ground. The belly is not yet full. The stance in the middle of the marsh remains, because in the water around it, almost every movement can become food. Late afternoon, the heron's shadow stretches long across the water as a small frog touches a lily pad near the marsh's edge and vanishes instantly. It does not hunt by species, it hunts by opportunity, where any creature that appears at the right distance, the right size, at the right moment can disappear. Its weapon is not fang or talon, but a curved neck that can compress and then release in a flash, leaving prey no time to react. But speed is only half of it. The other half lies in the ability to stand completely still for so long that many creatures fail to recognize the danger standing right beside them. Long toes distribute its weight across the soft mud surface, allowing it to move silently through the hunting zone without being detected. In the low afternoon light, the heron continues moving into deeper water, where larger prey appears, reading the entire marsh like a living hunting map. A larger fish swims slowly near the bottom, The great blue heron watches from above, adjusting its angle of view to compensate for water refraction with high precision. It releases the neck. The head drives deeper than this morning. The large fish is pinned sideways in the beak, thrashing hard. The heron slams the prey into the water, stunning the fish, then swallows it whole. The belly grows heavier, the steps slower, but the eyes remain alert. Any creature that swims past triggers an automatic attack reflex. 7 hunts in a single day. No selecting by species, only selecting by distance. No chasing, only waiting. And when the moment comes, everything ends in the blink of an eye. Below the surface, life continues normally for fish and frogs, while the mother alligator can only protect her young within the limits of her own field of view. The mother duck leads her ducklings into dense reeds to reduce risk. But the marsh always holds more danger, and the 7 that exist today may be 6 tomorrow. The heron still stands motionless in the marsh, neck curved, eyes open like a living statue. But inside the stomach are bones, scales, and feathers, and the water surface reflects the heron's slender silhouette. But beneath the mud, organic remains are decomposing, gradually converting into the nutrients that sustain this entire ecosystem. That cycle maintains the recurring rhythm of hunting, as species continuously appear around the heron's feeding zone, forming a stable but ever-changing system of participants. The heron spreads its wide wings, glides low across the marsh surface, then settles onto the reed bed bank in the last of the afternoon light, completing a full day of hunting. The marsh slowly shifts its rhythm, smaller creatures becoming more active as the gray shape in the water has departed, reopening the space for the natural pulse of life to resume. Tomorrow morning, when the first ray of sunlight touches the water, the heron will already be standing motionless in the marsh, while a fish unknowingly swims gradually into striking range. But the rhythm of life in the marsh continues by natural instinct, as species keep moving through the water where the heron typically lies in ambush to hunt. The marsh landscape is nearly unchanged: shallow water, soft mud, and softly swaying reeds, concealing a motionless yet supremely effective predator.